Good morning, everybody. Another day in mural painting land. I'm so excited. So I hope you enjoyed my last video. And today we're going to continue on block out. I just want to thank you for all your wonderful comments and for just joining me on this journey and just watching these videos. I appreciate it. I hope you're learning stuff. So let's look at what we're going to do today. So today I'm going to focus on getting all the big structures blocked in. I've got a big rock. Big stone rock formation I'm going to do right here. And then I'm going to finish getting all the drawing and all the structure of the ruins in. Miss Haynie is going to join me a little later, and she's going to continue to block in the continuations of the ruin. And then over in the corner here, I'm going to get the ore cart blocked in, and probably going to hold off on the plants right now because I want to do a separate video where I'm talking about some of the silhouettes and the importance of that visual language. So pretty much I'm going to start with blocking in. I'm just going to take a dark, probably the same dark color. Okay, and I'm just going to, do like I did here. I'm just going to block in the structure and then probably glaze it back with some of this warmth color and things just to see what kind of fun, happy accidents we can get. Instead of doing it as a flat silhouette, I'm going to just, get that weight and that mass in. And the same thing here, and you'll see I'll be doing the same thing I did here where I'm just kind of washing in and getting rocks and feeling of plants and the rail and things like that in. So that's going to be my first order of the day, and let's focus on that. And I'm going in here now and I'm walking in this rock. I'm looking at a few photos just to get some ideas, but again, just enjoying making shapes and just letting the painting speak to me. Just trying to kind of get into the feel of what rocks look like and feel like as far as how they break. This type of rock I'm not going to do too rigid because if it's got petroglyphs on it, it's probably been worn quite a bit, wind worn and weather worn. So I'm not gonna, won't have a lot of real strong ridges. I might just do more like cracks and things like that. But so I'm just kind of working, and you can see how I'm starting to block things out. Now you're gonna see I'm gonna start to, as I'm blocking in this, I'm gonna start glazing in a dark warm color. So I've got raw umber, I've got red oxide, which is funny, is kind of actually they make that out of the dirt, the iron oxide dirt. They make red oxide, so that's actually real authentic. And then dioxine purple, and then plus the color I'm using mixed in a little bit in there. And so I'm going to mix that together. Okay, and I'm going to come up with a glaze, and it's going to look like, it's going to look kind of like a muddy muck, but it's actually a nice base color. It's got a little bit of warmth in it, a little bit of cool in it. So it's just going to be my base color, and I'll pull the firelight out of that. So here, let me show you what happens when I start to wipe it in. And I might, so because the petroglyphs are going to be right up in here. So I just want to kind of start, check it out. I'm just going to start blocking this in. That other color is still a little wet, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to start to introduce this warm color, and it's darker too. See how it's darker than this color right here, the base color. So it gives me the weight, gives me the base and the weight and the mass. Remember I talked about mass to feel like a solid structure in the foreground. So I need to have that overall so I can pull the highlights out of it. And I'm just letting the brush do the talking, and I'm just feeling my way through here. And so really you get all these mixtures of colors that are happening naturally. And I'm just going to start thinking like a rock. Just going to keep playing around. And again, I'm very relaxed. I'm not really stressing about it because you can always paint over things if you don't like it. So I don't really worry about it. I'm letting a little bit of that cool color that's underneath show through in places. And I can glaze on top of this and push it back, or I can do some opaquing and pull it forward, whatever I want to do. I'm liking there's just all kinds of cool things that are happening, you know, so I'm not using really thick color. I like to use translucent color because it just gives you a little bit more room to play. See, this is, I'm going to be painting over that. Let's go over here. You know, it's kind of a controlled mess in a way, but it's just that dark color is going to show through. So I'm going to get some really cool things that are going to happen that are going to be very rock-like. You know, and then I'll put the petroglyphs right on top of here, and that's more kind of in the detail part of it, you know. So trying to keep it from dripping too much. So this color is gonna be toned down as I do the lighting off the moon off of it. But right now I'm just blocking in structure, and I'm also just letting fun things happen. Not stressing about it. I'm just enjoying being an artist and just letting the spirit guide me. I just enjoy thinking about the structure of a rock and just how that works. I've got a few photos I've been looking at. Here, let me back up so you can kind of see how it's got a little bit of a glare on it. I can't get the glare off, but you can kind of see what's happening. You got all these cool things. So what's going through my mind is I'm thinking about light and shadow, like this is more light, this is more shadow, and then I'm going to have the light source from the fire that's going to be hitting a lot of the side here and then this top face here. So it's kind of a big sculpture. I'm going to be sculpting this rock as I'm painting. And I like how these are mixing. See how they're mixing? You get all the cool stuff. It's kind of like what I did out here. I did the same thing here where this is going to be an important part of the painting once I begin the details. Okay, so now you start seeing starting to get the mass blocked in. Let's see if I can get a little bit farther away so you can see. It's kind of hard to see because of the glare. The light's bright. So yeah, I'm starting to get this solid mass in. So the next thing I'm going to start introducing is I'm going to introduce a little bit more yellow because the warmth is going to be you'll see once I block this fire in, that warmth, there needs to be more warmth here. And then once I get that warmth in, I'll be able to sculpt into this rock with cracks and texture and things that pick up more of the cooler color. So I'll be doing warm and cool, and then I'll turn around with this cooler color and highlight here. Then I'm going to have the warmer color highlight here, and so it'll just be sculpted. Think of this as a ball, and I'm just going to sculpt it with the light. Okay, here's the warmer color, and then I'm mixing a little bit of red in there, a little bit of yellow, and then there's a little violet in there just to dull it down some. And so what I'm going to be doing with this is fairly translucent. It's not super opaque, but it's translucent. And the reason why I chose more translucent, that I'll show you, is that it will pick up the color and it'll kind of blend in with the background. So watch here. Here's a good example right here, watch. So see, it's lighter, see how it's gonna, but when it dries, since this is acrylic, it dries, it'll blend in with that color more. And basically what I'm doing is I'm starting to get this base here of the rock in shape for doing the petroglyphs. So, and I'll sponge some, but right now I'm just kind of blocking in some of the feeling of the rock. Yeah, and then I want to keep a spot here where it's gonna catch the petroglyphs. But see, as it dries, it's gonna sink in and blend with the violet. But look at this range of colors, beautiful. So I'm just letting a lot of the color, just mix optically mix as I'm layering them up. So I've got this blue, kind of blue violet, and I've got this darker color that I did. Then I did this color, and then I turn around. Now I'm doing this little bit of a lighter color with more body to it, so the color shows up a little bit more. And then I'm just gonna kind of play with this and stuff. So I'm just doing base. I'm doing block in base of this rock to get the color and the feel of it. Here, let me back up so you can kind of see what's going on. You can kind of see, and I'm setting up for that firelight over here. Okay, you can see I blocked in the ore cart, which is going to be up on a ridge, and it'll have little tracks that'll come and it'll zigzag back in here and go to some mine or something. So really what we're looking at here, this is the ore cart, and all this is a box in space. And so, you know, I'm not going to get too technical about perspective, but this is linear perspective. So I've got vanishing point going over here, I got a vanishing point going over here, and I've got one coming down here. This is what we call 3-point perspective. So basically this corner is closest to the camera. These two are farther away, and this is the furthest point from the camera. So you notice how I got it a little bit more. I wanted to tilt the box more toward the camera so we could see the ore inside, and plus it kind of feels like it's at an angle on the hillside. You know, I'm going to have like a little drop off right here where the hill's kind of coming over and dropping off. So I'm playing with all kinds of perspective, just letting it just be fun. And so I'm going to actually go in and start blocking out some of the details in here and just keep drawing on this. But all of this is a box in space with details on it. Okay, now you can see I'm blocking out. I'm just starting to get the shape and a little bit of the lighting going on the ore cart. I've stylized the perspective a little bit. You can see it in relation to everything. And then now I'm going to see if I can just block out some of the tracks and things going through there. Next step is to block in this fire and the rest of the ruins structure. So I'll be doing that next. Now I have the base blocked in, just overall. I'm going to go in now like I did here on the rock. See, I did with the brown, kind of this brownish color. I'm going to do the same here. Probably add a tad bit more yellow to it, just to get it a little bit more color variation. I'm going to do all this in here, block all that in because I want to get more weight. I need more weight to this mass. But I also want to start introducing the warmth. So I've left some of these spaces open just so that I can get some free detail. And then the actual corner of the room, okay, is going to actually be the corner of the building. So I'm going to actually make it look like this is part of that. I might have to do a little bit more work up here just to make that more believable. So this firelight is going to be catching this wall. Because this wall is going to go to that corner and then come straight across. So once I catch the light across that, make it look like this is part of a room. I've been doing a lot of blocking in and lighting on the overall structure here. Now I'm in the process of blocking in more of the light of the fire. And you can see I'm just starting a little bit with this orange, and I'll work my way up to a bright yellow. But right now I'm just kind of getting a little drawing and stuff with it, and I'll do some embers and things like that. Yeah, so you can see I'm just starting to block in fire and get that, and then getting the silhouettes of all the logs and things that are in the fire. So yeah, that's what I'm working right now, and just catching a little bit of the light here. Still a glare on it because it's wet, but you can see this is kind of what I'm doing right now. Now I have all of the block in done. The overall block in is done. Now I'm going to start going in and doing details. So the first thing I'm going to work on is I'm going to start putting stars in here. And I'm going to start doing some fun detail on the moon and just kind of work my way around the painting and do different things. Okay, so now you can see I started doing light, and then started doing some of the shadow shapes on the moon. Probably going to add a little bit more blue, some of this blue into there, just to kind of cool that off a little bit. But so far so good. All right, so now I'm doing all kinds of highlighting. I'm starting highlighting more. I'm going to start bringing highlights down on the mountains. So now I've been starting the detail pass now, which is the super fun part. So you'll see I'll start highlighting and stuff here, and then build the Gila cliff dwellings. I'm here at the Tranquil Buzz. There's like music going on in the background. It's really cool. Our art environment, creativity, and love lives here at the Tranquil Buzz. So now I'm going to work on the Gila cliff dwelling area. You can see I did a bunch of highlighting and got some detail on the moon. And now I'm going to move over to this structure right here, and I'm going to block that in. So you can see I'm starting to do highlighting and stuff now, catching the color off the rocks, starting to block in the Gila cliff dwellings, start to get some of the light hitting patches of ground. So you see how that base color really works for me. It helps give me that solid foundation. Now some of the next steps I'm going to begin. I'm going to do a little bit more work over here, some detail and stuff over here. I'm going to come down here and start blocking this out a little bit more. I'll get some more color and mass and weight down here. Start blocking in some plants and rocks and things like that. And also today I'll just be doing some little tops of the trees and just little bits of details here and there, just scattered as I'm working. So I'll show you those as I begin to do those. But yeah, we'll move it along. Now I'm starting to do some highlighting and stuff, bringing in, and basically what it is the moonlight hitting these mountain ranges in the background. And I'm just going to begin to just do some shapes. You know, combination of tree shapes and maybe some cliff shapes and things. So yeah, so I mean, you see how it's going. I'm just dabbing some details and color, and this value is just a little bit lighter than this base color, and I'm actually trying to utilize some of this underwash that I had. I'll just like hit little pings and things on it to, you know. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be working on, just kind of working on that. Here we at right now. I just did a little bit of highlighting on the mountains back in the background, and I'm going to start on this one right here. I wanted to stop for a second to talk with you a little bit about when I was talking about these treetops and the importance of a silhouetted edge. And you'll notice how I just silhouetted all the mountaintops. Well, I'm going to be doing the same thing, probably more so in the foreground, especially starting up in this range here and then coming forward. So this is a principle we call shape language, using silhouettes. And I'm going to show you, I just did some little ink blots of the different shapes, which are really the different plants that you see here in New Mexico. Agave, this one here, chimeza, prickly pear, cholla, yucca. And so those shapes are so important to communicate to your eye. So right now, these are generic shapes. Once I start making those shapes more distinctive to some of these shapes, then it's going to speak more to your eye, specific information. So let me come over here. I blocked in over here. You'll see how I blocked in a yucca just real quick, just to see what it was going to look. All of these shapes like that are really important to tell your eye that your eye will start thinking, you know, desert or this southwest, some of those kind of region. And so this is the thing I really work with artists on is developing their shape language. So the shape actually talks to your eye. What it does is your eye sees the shape and your brain makes a conclusion of what it's seeing. If it can't make a conclusion of what it's seeing, then there's confusion involved, which is not really a good thing. You know, so, you know, that shape right there for the ore cart, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot of, you know, I got to get the wheels on. It doesn't take a whole lot to realize what that is, especially when you start putting rocks in it. You know, this is a little bit more difficult unless you've been to the Gila cliff dwellings, but all these shapes are very, very important. Same thing on the moon. These kind of shapes here, that real meteorite kind of crater feel, all those are very significant into communicating to your eye the moon. And I've stylized it. This is not realistic. I've stylized everything. And so just the importance of a silhouetted shape to be able to communicate to your eye is really, really important, in my opinion. Same thing with the clouds, the negative spaces. So shape language is unique to each artist. Each artist has its own shape language, his or her shape language. And when I'm doing a piece, I look for this kind of information to help ground it in reality of what, or communicate to the mind, to the eye, what you know, what they're seeing and what we're seeing. So anyway, that's when I talked about silhouettes. This is what I mean, is being able to get these established. And yes, there's detail on top of it, but this base, this mass needs to be in place for your eye to understand what it's seeing. Now I'm going to start doing some highlighting and stuff on trees and on mountaintops like I did here. So the color I mixed is I took basically that color and a brown or yellow, and I got basically that. It looks like mud, but when you put it on, you know, look how green and brown it looks. So it's basically this color right here. And that's a good complement color to this base color. So I'm going to start that now. Probably start with a sponge and brush and just delicately hit treetops and just sections, rocks, and things like that. So let me start that now. Right, so now I'm going to be getting some details. You see right up here my references. I have different kinds. I have hills with spotted trees here. I got some cliff faces. Got some neat foliage down here. This is the Gila River here with some neat trees and kind of in a bosky type thing. Same thing over here. And I'm just I love these trees here that kind of go along the river. And then there's cliff faces and things like that. And so I'm just gonna get lost in doing the sponge. I got this kind of muddy color here. And I think I'm going to start just with, I'll use a combination of the sponge and the brush just to do a little bit of this kind of thing. I'm not going to do too much here. Just going to just try to catch the light off of some of the trees and make it feel. I'll go back and forth with the brush just so I have a little bit more control to get some of the treetops, but all I'm doing is hitting the highlight shapes off these treetops. You see that? So I'm just hitting highlights. Another good paintbrush is your finger. Sometimes I use my finger a lot to smear paint around and do stuff like that. All right, now you see I'm starting to bring the light down and just starting to catch trees and cliff faces and all kinds of stuff. And I'm just going in here and just kind of doing shapes, blotches, just like this. I'm just kind of mimicking this stuff here. I'm mimicking all this stuff here. The cliffs and the trees. I'm gonna do a cliff face right here, some trees on it. So I'll go back in with this dark purple, this purple here, and put some splotches and trees in here just to break it up. It'll help it. It's the same concept as doing these silhouetted tops like I did. I'll step back and let you see what I've got so far. Okay, now I'm starting to work on this other side and really happy with what's happening over here. I continue to work on that. But now I'm over here catching the light. So you see I'm actually added a few more things. This is actually what they call the kneeling nun. I made it a little bit bigger than it normally is just to accentuate it. But literally what I'm doing now is from the light source right there, I am sculpting. So I'm basically catching the light on these faces that go off in perspective, and then this whole side is more in shadow. I might catch a couple of areas but right now I think I just like having that face right there catching the light. And so if you look, what I'm doing is kind of this. I'm doing this right here. And so I'm gonna do this top of this hill right here. Yeah, just catching the light and just kind of, remember, all I'm doing is creating shapes. I'm thinking about making beautiful shapes and just focused on that right now. It's all details are beautiful shapes. I'll say that again. All details, all they are just beautiful shapes. That's all they are. And detail tends to be smaller shapes. And the smaller the shapes, the smaller the detail. So I'm just enjoying right now catching the light. So I'm just catching the light off the moon on these rocks. And I'm using this kind of brush where I can do it flat or turn it and get a nice little edge. I like doing that. See, and so right here, watch, I'll sculpt this in the light. So I'm just gonna start, those planes that are catching the light are gonna get this highlight. And so it's just sculpting, it's just like sculpting. See, and I'm catching the light off these rocks and things. And then I'll just clean those shapes up. And remember, I have this color mix, so I can always go back in and clean up, which is what I did. If you notice over here, check out what I did over here. See how I added this color back into it. So I put this big swat of color down. I took that color and I came in and I started putting trees and other rocks and things like that. Same way I did these tops of the trees. Over here, I've been getting a lot of cool stuff happening, and I stopped here just for a minute because now I'm going to start doing some of those different plant types that are real recognizable. So I'm just having fun with it and see how that's working with me. I'll show you what I got today. This is what I've got done today. You can see all the detail. Detail here. And then I put in more lighting and stuff on here. You can start seeing I got the lighting from the moon on there.